and landed with a decidedly expensive-sounding crunch of metal. Damn! She tapped the gas again, and the Jeep grunted ahead, except this time the front passenger side fell at an awkward angle and lurched to a stop, sitting way too low to be considered normal. Oh, God, this is just the icing on a total shitcake of a day. Can't anything go right? She put the car in park, as if it would go anywhere, and banged her head against the steering wheel with a painful thud. She rubbed her forehead. The action did nothing to make her feel better. Whoever thought that a good headbang would release tension was obviously an idiot. Great. She was in the middle of nowhere, miles from the nearest person, in a disabled car. She took a quick look at her phone. No cell coverage. Unfortunately, in a 24-hour period filled with nonstop shocks, the lack of cell coverage wasn't one of them. Strains of Lady Antebellum's song, Love Don't Live Here, filled the car, and she considered banging her head again. Maybe love don't live here anymore, but it did once, she mumbled, and killed the engine. That thought pushed her over the edge of the emotional cliff she'd been skirting for the past day and a half. She stopped fighting the good fight and let loose the river of tears she'd kept dammed up with a finger, a wad of gum, duct tape, and a prayer. She wasn't sure how long she'd sat in the cooling car, crying, when a triple rap on the driver's side door interrupted her mid-meltdown. Kendall jumped, let out a startled yelp, and blinked at the image of a hairy hulk of a man staring through the steamed-up driver's side window. He had longish blonde hair sticking out of a navy blue knit cap. A 2 or 3 week beard covered what looked like a square jaw, and he sported crinkles around the bluest, most intense eyes she'd ever seen. Even with tears and a foggy window clouding her vision, her gaze felt shackled to his, and, like a sleepwalker, she slowly opened the door and let out an embarrassing, hiccuping sob. The man took what looked like a cautious step back and crouched before her, maybe to seem less threatening. "Are you hurt?" He sounded as if he didn't want to know the answer, but felt awkwardly obligated to ask. Another sob escaped. She shook her head and took what she hoped was a calming breath. "Physically, I'm fine. Emotionally, I'm a complete wreck." He rose to his full height, rounded the front of the car, and then crouched to inspect the sunken front end. She wasn't sure if it was to look for damage or just a damn good excuse to get away from the crazy woman blubbering all over herself. He placed one large hand on the edge of the hood and pushed, rocking the car with a grunt of effort. The next sound she heard was a manly hum of disappointment, confirming her initial assessment of the situation. She was screwed. He came to his feet in one smooth move and caught her gaze, probably to gauge her mental competency. And his expression shifted from polite but hugely uncomfortable concern to an "I've got bad news for you" grimace. Kendall wiped her cold, tear-stained face. "You might as well just say whatever it is." He looked her up and down again. "I don't want to make what is obviously a terrible day worse, but it looks as if you have a broken axle." "A broken axle? Seriously?" She raised her gaze to the sky. "God, I know I'm strong, independent, intelligent, and resourceful, but don't you think the broken axle was just a little over the top?" She waited a beat to give God a second to strike her down, in case he was in the mood. "Okay, you win. I give up." She knew she stood beside a snowbank, but looked over her shoulder just to make sure before taking a seat. Who could blame her? After the day she had good reason to question her own judgment. At that moment, she couldn't have cared less who the man before her was, or that he, a complete stranger, would witness her tears. At times like this, self-respect was overrated. Besides, it wasn't as if he had to stand there and listen. He could slink off to wherever he came from. She took a stilted breath before dropping her face into her hands and crying again in earnest. "In the past day, I've been downsized and dumped. In a month, I'll be homeless because without my job and my fiancé, I can't afford to keep my apartment. And if that isn't enough, now you tell me I've just broken the axle on my car. I'm no crack mechanic, but even I know that's really expensive." The snowbank gave way, and she sank